Hi, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Adam Mueller with the State Your Business podcast, and today I have Erik McLaughlin with Bold North Roofing. We are here today to talk about how you got into the business, what the business is like, and if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your background and how the heck did you get into this business, man?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, Adam. I have an interesting story on how I got into the business. Took a more untraditional route, so I started as a CPA and found my way here, but kind of backing up before that. So I grew up in Maple Grove, so right here in the Twin Cities. My mom was an entrepreneur growing up. My dad was an engineer, so I kind of had both sides of the person being a corporate employee man his whole life, and then my mom started a couple businesses growing up, so I got to see firsthand entrepreneurship, running a business, the highs and lows of it. So it kind of got my, brain spinning at a younger age that eventually I wanted to own a business someday, but didn't quite know what I wanted to do or what it wanted to be. So followed the path of go to school, go to college, get a degree, and then kind of figure it out from there. So I went to University of North Dakota up in Grand Forks, got an accounting degree, got my CPA, started working at an accounting firm down in the Twin Cities here. So did that a couple years, realized that I didn't want to work in a cubicle my entire life, and did that for 2 years. And I worked at a real estate developer out in Minnetonka called Roars Companies. And so it was very entrepreneurship-like over there, where they ran their business or their developer arm like a business. So they were very savvy and aggressive and really into the growth of their business. And so I got a front row seat working for the two owners over there on how they grew and scaled their business into construction development and all that. And so doing that, and in the background of that, me and my business partner now, we were flipping houses and working together, and he was a construction guy. So he had his GC, he was working at a roofing company at the time, so I had a lot of really good construction knowledge experience, and I had good accounting, finance, business experience, and we were old college roommates and buddies. And so we said, hey, let's throw in and start a business together. And so that's how Bold North started, and here we are today.
How old were you?
When we started the business?
Yeah.
28.
Okay, and how old are you now?
32.
Okay.
It's about 4 years ago.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
What was it like your first year?
The first year was pretty crazy. I saved up enough money to have 6 months of living expenses in case I had to, go live under a bridge or back at my parents' house. But I burned the ships. I said, I'm not going back to a job. I'm going to see this out until there's no other path but to succeed. So it was crazy. One piece of advice I got from Kent Roars, where I worked at Roars Companies, he said, right when you start, he's like, just jam your calendar packed full of every meeting you can take. And then when those meetings cancel or when you have free time, then you can work on your business and fill it in between there. So, we were putting in long hours that first year. I was working, 70, 80-hour weeks sometimes, where it's you meet with people during the day for coffee, for lunch, and then you find ways to grow and work on the business in between there. And so doing those things and having a business partner, which was huge because it's really hard to start a business by yourself, but having someone to kind of cover off when you have those meetings and stuff like that was hugely, big reason I had success was just, pounding the pavement, hitting it hard, kind of doing everything you could to, open doors and see what was behind there. So
What type of role did your partner play, and what did you do? How did you guys contribute to make a company?
Yeah, good question. So right away we kind of had the idea that he's going to handle the operations, the construction side. So whenever we sold a roof, he would do all the scheduling, ordering material, anything with a construction mind he handled, and I kind of handled all the other things. And so it'd be really hard to start a business if you only have one or the other. It's hard to understand a trade, a business, and also get how business works and how to scale it. So we had sort of the deal that he handled everything construction, I just handled everything else. And I didn't know everything else. I knew accounting, I knew some general business, but I didn't know marketing, I didn't know sales. I'm not a good sales guy, and I had to become a sales guy right away. So I did I knocked on doors, I talked to all the insurance agents I could find, all the realtors I could find. I just did everything I could to, bring my value to the company, because it was just me and him, and that was sort of our deal. So yeah, it was interesting kind of figuring out the different things I'd have to step into and learn as a business owner of a new company.
What was it like hiring your first employee?
Relieving. I think it didn't happen actually until our second year. So the first year is just me and him, and we had some 1099 subcontractors. But the second year we made enough money our first year where we felt okay investing and starting to pay someone else. But I think the hardest thing for me to get over was, I could do all the roles. Why would I pay someone to do that? I'm just like making less money. But then you realize if you can pay someone at $30 an hour, maybe your time's more valuable than that, or you could go then chase more business or work on other things. So getting over that hump of paying someone a salary is actually going to help elevate the whole business, even though you're spending or I thought of it as losing money right away, but it's really an investment. It's going to help elevate everything. So it was the first 2 hires we made were probably the best 2 hires that we had ever made at the time, where having an admin, having a production person just took so much off our plates, and we could really work on growing, scaling, finding more people to hire, all those things.
So when you say you had to jump right into sales and marketing, you were going door to door. You were networking with, it sounds like, realtors.
Yep.
And different.
I was in all, I was in the B&I groups, the biz to biz. I was doing all the different networking, chamber of commerce things. Walking into insurance agents with my business cards and talking to the people there. And I did door to door too. Like I would go knock on doors in St. Paul and see if they wanted a free roof inspection, and got a lot of doors slammed in my face, which is, it's good to kind of break down the ego right away, because then you know what it takes to grind and win. And so I did all of it. I even tried building our website the first time by myself, which I would not recommend. That's one thing we did pay and invest for. But I tried to do all of it right away, and there's some things you can't do. Like that is something that you really need someone who knows how to do it, but everything else on the marketing side I did.
When you get people to call in and ask about an estimate, or let's say you get a job awarded, have you found a way to track how they found you?
We do, yeah. So we actually use a call center right now because they're 24/7. They can take multiple calls at once. So even though we have, now we have 15 employees here, so we have a ton of people that could answer the phone. Sometimes it gets busy. We have 5 people calling at once, and we don't have those many people there to answer a phone line. So one of the questions our call center will ask is, how did you hear about us? And so that's a good way for us to track whether it was Google, a referral, they saw our truck, a yard sign, whatever it is. But yeah, that is an analytic that we started tracking pretty early on.
What do you feel is what contributes the most to that, to bringing traffic in?
It's a little bit of a mixed bag, I think. So we do canvassing through neighborhoods. So, we get some stuff door knocking, but I think the call-ins to us usually are referrals or previous. Yeah, I would say referrals, probably the most part. Some are Google. They saw us on Google and they called in, or Facebook or whatever. But I think referrals are probably the number one, because we do good work. And so people, if you have a good customer, everyone wants to say they know someone or they know a guy. And so it's great when you do a good job with one customer and they're able to refer them to their friends and family. And great for us because it shows that we did good work, and also it makes that customer feel important too, that they're able to help someone in their network and connect them with a good person.
What would you say makes Bold North Roofing stand out from other roofing companies?
There's a few things. I mean, at the end of the day, we put roofs on. A lot of companies put roofs on. I think having involved owners, so we really care about our reputation. You look online, we have almost all 5-star Google reviews. There's going to be the occasional customer that you can't make happy, and that's just business. But we really value the reputation, making sure that our customer feels taken care of. In this business, it is hard too, because you put a roof on someone's house. It's not like a new construction where no one's home and you can make a big mess and you clean it up after. It's you're ripping their roof off. It's a pretty major project, and things happen. A shingle might fall and crush someone's favorite flower, and even though you got insurance to pay for their roof and everything went fine, if there's one minor mistake, it can upset a homeowner. So you do everything you can to just make it right at the end of the day and just take care of them.
Do you have any crazy upset homeowner stories?
Oh, we've had a couple. Yeah.
Anything that you can share on camera?
I'm trying to think here. One was kind of an interesting one. It was she wanted to make sure the smell, I think, of the OSB that was going on underneath wasn't going to permeate through her attic and get into her house, and she wanted to like have it set out beforehand just to like, there's all these kind of weird one-offs where people are really hypersensitive on smells and stuff like that. So a few of those, and the story I told about the flower getting crushed, we've had a couple of those where they're ripping shingles off of the roof, throwing it off. Every now and then a plant gets hit or something like that, and we try to tarp things off, and stuff gets missed sometimes. So sometimes you set homeowners off if you accidentally do something like that, even if you make it right after. So those are a couple of fun ones.
Now, you mentioned you have commercial and then you have residential.
Mm-hmm.
What made you want to do both?
So I think residential, there's less barriers to entry, so that's where we started. It's a little easier to get the projects. It's more of like keeping the lights on type thing, where everyone or someone needs a roof, and so that's easier job to get. The commercial side, they're a little bit further and in between, and people hear about you more from just being in business and having a network. So the people that own commercial roofs are usually business owners or big time real estate people, and so getting connected with those people right away, one, they're not going to trust you to do their roof unless you can show them you've done a lot of roofs prior, because it's usually six-figure investments at least. And so it just took us a while to get there, but once we start, now we're doing probably one a month. And so now that we've built up a pretty big book of business on the residential side, we have our 15 trucks driving around. People see us, they've heard of us. We're not just a new roofer in town. People start to actually call, and we're on their short list of companies that they want bids from. So it took some time to get there, but for us it just made sense to diversify a little bit. If there's ever not insurance claims or storms, commercial roofs need to go on every 30 years. So we want to just diversify a little bit.
So you mentioned with commercial versus residential, I'm assuming residential you're probably getting paid by the consumer, by the resident of the home.
Yep.
And then with commercial, is that more of an insurance payout?
No, commercial is usually more, we call it retail, but out of pocket. And usually it's being financed, or there's other things too, but it's usually a flat roof that maybe had been put on, or it's the original one 30 or 40 years ago, and it's starting to leak, and it's causing damage to the interior, whether they have expensive equipment in there or whatever it is. And you can patch roofs, and some people do that for a while, but usually the ROI you're seeing of that, they're spending thousands of dollars every couple months patching, where they could just put a new roof on, and it's warranted for 20 years, and so no matter what, it's taken care of. So usually the return on investment makes sense if you're doing enough patchwork on your roof to just replace it.
What about the commercial side of things? When your partner and you guys got together, you said you had the understanding of the finance CPA background.
Yep.
And you got into the marketing and the sales side of things. Did he bring the trade knowledge to the table?
Yeah, he brought all of it. So when he worked at his last roofing company before we started, he had the relationships with all the subcontractors that we used, and they were his relationships where he had known them for even before that. So he had all the right people to help us perform this. He had the relationships with our suppliers that we buy the materials from. He had his GC license, so he had all the operational pieces in place, and he's one of these guys too you meet and he can build anything. He's going to be working on building his own house, so he's one of these guys that can look at plans, and whatever it is he can build it. So we're a construction shop, so we can do really any exterior project. There's some stuff we haven't done but we could do. It's just we can put things back together. So he's the kind of brilliant mind on that side that's able to do all that. And to me, it's amazing because, I look at some super unique roof and I'm probably not the right person to figure all of it out, but we have those people on our team, which is, the benefit of having a team. Everyone kind of covers off on what they're skilled and good at.
Absolutely, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so speaking of team, 15 employees.
15 employees, yes.
And then a number of 1099 subcontracted people.
Yep, we have a team of 1099 subcontracted people, some laborers, some salespeople, and sometimes the salespeople are they're real estate agents and they sell roofs, and they like that flexibility of being able to do both and just help homeowners on whether it's a big construction project like a roof or selling their home. But yep, we have 15 employees, which is been fun to see. And now it kind of has every section of the business covered off, where I joke, but I've effectively fired myself from every position I had in the company, which is a great spot to be, because I can be in a podcast with you instead of doing my 3 jobs I used to have. So, but yeah, we have a really good team, and we have a really high bar here, and everyone that's here is the A team. So we've been fortunate to be really intentional finding those people and keeping them. And yeah, we couldn't do what we do without our team, which is the amazing part.
So how did you accomplish that part? The team building, getting an A team, because that's a big feat.
It is, and one thing that small companies and small business might have historically struggled on is when you hire people, you kind of get worried to maybe let them go if they're not performing, because they're so tied into the business, and it's kind of a tight-knit group. And we've had some of that where we've hired people that weren't the right people, or maybe they were, and life came up or something changed, or they didn't keep up with our growth. And so we've had to move away from certain people that we had earlier on. Maybe they were great in a company of 3 or 4 people, but not in a company of 10 plus. And so we've been really intentional with giving the people here the training they need and helping them elevate with us. But some people, they don't keep up with that rapid growth, but we make sure that we have the right people in the right seats for where we are and where we need to be.
Do you have any sort of process for vetting them or making sure that they're going to be a qualified candidate, aside from just referrals, or what's their resume look like?
Yeah, obviously we love the referral side. If we have some tie-in with them personally, I think it's great, because they're less likely to just randomly leave or do something that's going to burn you. But on top of that, I've worked at places that have done the DISC profile and the personality tests. And
so you knew where I was going with that?
Yeah, I'm not, I don't want to bash them, because I think there's definitely some value in them. I'm not as big of a believer in them, because I think you answer those questions how you want to be perceived, maybe not how you actually are. And I know that firsthand, because the last place I worked, I took it a couple times, and the first time I took it, I answered it maybe like an accountant would. And then a couple years later, I wanted to take it again as my role kind of transformed a little bit, and I was completely different. I was more, if it's on the D side or whatever, where it's like, I think you can chameleon it a little bit, which is fine, but if I'm trying to get a job, I'm answering those questions exactly how I want someone to think I would be perceived, or how I would fit best in that role. So there's probably value in there. We do the references. We have pretty good reads on people for the most part. So probably not the most dialed in process, but I think we do a couple things to make sure that we make good hires.
Well, I noticed you have a values board out in the hallway. Tell me a little bit about that, and where'd that come from?
Yeah.
And what is it?
What is it? Yeah. So we're really big believers in the core values. We follow EOS, which is the entrepreneurial operating system, and your core values are kind of the tenets of your company, and what it's your common ethos, or whatever you want to call it, that kind of binds everyone together and kind of gives direction to how people work in their job. And so we're really intentional with our core values. You probably saw, but ownership mindset's number 1, and that was one of the core values at my last company. It's one of the 5 that we borrowed. We came up with the other 4 our own, but I thought that one really spoke to me when I was there, and I think it's a really important one, that everyone in our company feels like they have ownership over their roles, and they're able to act like they're an owner of the company, and treat their role like that. So if you empower people to be owners, they're going to act like owners, and the whole company is going to be full of mini owners, and that's just going to make us that much more effective and powerful. And yeah, so that's our first one. I think our second one.
I actually took a picture of it.
You took
right
it?
here.
Okay, yeah. I think I have it memorized, but that's helpful. Am I allowed to swear on camera? Or?
Yeah, you're fine, man.
Second one's make shit happen. And I think it's a little uncommon to have that phrase as maybe a core value for a company, but 1, it's our company, so we do whatever we want. But 2, it does attract a lot of people. A lot of people have seen our job postings, and they say that core value, like, that's what I'm about. I like that. I want to work for you guys. And we're big believers in it. We're not talkers, we're doers. Everyone here is. We didn't grow as quick as we did by not making shit happen, so we do it. And the next one kind of piggybacks off that, keep your word. So when we say we're going to do something, we do it. We don't say we're going to get out to that project tomorrow. We're going to make it happen. We're going to do it. Fourth one is carry a warrior spirit, which is kind of a unique one for a core value. But in what we do, and especially, well, I guess not even just the sales team, a lot of what we do is it's tough work. We're battling with insurance adjusters every day. We're knocking on doors every day. We're, dealing with construction problems every day. It happens. And so it's a really tough business. And so you need to have that warrior spirit, be resilient, keep going even when stuff doesn't go your way. And then the last one's life is short, have fun. What we do is tough work, and we work really, really hard during the go season. That, when it's the slower times, we have to have fun. You have to mix it in. I mean, that's what life's all about, right? Kind of balance. We do the extreme balance thing where we work really hard, but then we also, play hard too. We do fun stuff. So
What kind of stuff do you do?
We have a ton of, like, every month we do different events. Like a couple months ago, we did sauna camp out in Excelsior, where we went and we sauna, then we jumped in the lake when it was, negative temperatures out, and just fun stuff like that. And, we do the normal Top Golf events and happy hours, and we do charity events and stuff like that. But we try to kind of fill all the different buckets of things. And, so every year we're doing different stuff like that.
I mean, I guess you have to be extreme. You got to fit into the name, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we can't just keep it super vanilla. We have to do some extreme stuff. But so it's been fun.
That's pretty cool. I saw that you have a room that's got a label over it, the War Room?
Yeah, the War Room. So
how'd that come to be, and what's that about?
Yeah, so it's our name for our conference room that we have. You've seen it in movies, right, where they're in the war room getting their game plan together. And we wanted to make the office space, just with our personalities, just like super badass. We wanted to, we have the cool like epoxy floors that our friend who owns an epoxy floor company did for us. We, sprayed the ceilings black. We have, swords hanging around our office, kind of cool, like, it's construction type kind of doodly stuff. But it's just a room that we get together with all of our, our sales, all hands meeting every Monday, and we go around and we, share a personal highlight we had from the weekend and a professional goal we have for the week, and we just get everyone in that room, kind of a rah-rah sesh, and it's a good way to set intentions for the week, get everyone together, because, there's no better way to start your week than Monday morning meetings when you have, 30, 40 people in a room and everyone's, just amping each other up, getting ready for the week, all the projects we're taking and building. And so it's a fun meeting space to kind of cultivate that culture.
You get everybody fired up to go get some doors slammed on the face, baby.
Yeah, you need to, man.
You do.
You can't go into it without that fire in your eyes, otherwise you won't make it. So.
I think one of the things as an entrepreneur, it's really tough when you're looking forward and you don't see the reward yet. Mm-hmm. In that beginning season. And I feel like that's where a lot of people give up. They don't see the reward for the labor or for the hard work. I haven't done the get the door slammed in your face part yet, but I would imagine, there's two ways you can look at that. You can take that and say, all right, man, I'm going to pick it up and carry on to the next one. Or you can say, I don't want to deal with that anymore. Who wants to deal with that? Mm-hmm. What got you through it?
Yeah, fortunately, we had a lot of referrals that came in from my, network I had, so I didn't have to knock doors 40 hours a week, every week when I started, but I did, I put time in to do it. And, I think you have to have a desire to win more than a desire to have your feelings hurt or to be discouraged. And so, I had a vision. I knew where I wanted to help take the company, and it was kind of a no matter what situation. I could get door slammed in my face 100 times and I wasn't going to get discouraged, because I knew, we're not the first person to do this business. I know it works. I know it's possible. And so you just have to fight through those days and just become better, sharpen the sword, and, get back in the arena. So, it was tough though. It was for sure tough.
Would you mind sharing your first year and last year of revenue?
Yeah, our first year in revenue, we had a really good first year because we got hit with a hailstorm, which was awesome, and we had a lot of referrals, but we did $2.5 million in revenue our first year, so that was 2022. And then 2024, which is our last full year, we ended at $13 million in revenue. So
that's fantastic.
We had a big spike and jump. And I think the most impressive thing about that last year number and not necessarily for me, but for our company, is that there weren't any big storms in Minnesota. And so a lot of roofing companies had gone way backwards, or some even shut their doors because it was such a tough year and they overspent on their overhead and expenses, and we grew through it. So we went from 2.5 to 7.5 to 13. So even in a bad storm year, we still grew, which was a testament to how good our sales team is and how good work we do, because we still got referrals and had work even without those.
Now, we know the sales generates the revenue, but there's a little bit of a sauce in what you just said that's easily overlooked, I feel like, as an owner. You had some groundwork laid out so that if a storm like that came, no pun there.
Yep.
If it came, then you'd be able to ride that out and not have too much overhead. Mm-hmm. Sounds like you started, what city did you start the business in?
Maple Grove.
In Maple Grove, and then now you're here in Bloomington.
Yes.
So how did that happen, and then how has that helped you guys be able to handle, the offsets of workflow?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter where we are. We do work all in Minnesota. So we did work up in the Iron Range, up in Virginia, Chisholm, way up north by the Canadian border. We are licensed in Iowa, Wisconsin, so we'll go down there for the work. So it really, from a geographical perspective, didn't matter as much. I think what did help moving from Maple Grove to Bloomington, to back up to, we started in Maple Grove because we found an office lease sublease situation where we didn't have to sign a 3-year lease. We could step into someone's existing lease that was shorter, so it was only 2 years. So it made it a little bit easier for us to stomach that commitment when we were growing so quick and knowing we might outgrow a space. And so it was just more of an opportunity. Funny enough, I'm from Maple Grove, and I was a pizza cook in high school at Frankie's Pizza, and our first office was literally right above Frankie's Pizza. So I kind of did a full circle moment, which was fun. But then after those 2 years, we were looking at bigger spaces, and we toured a couple of buildings that were beautiful. They had like the 6,000-7,000 square feet set up that we needed, but they wanted a 5-year lease, and it was like $8,000 a month in rent, and these kind of big scary terms that I just couldn't wrap my head around. And so we started looking at buying a building because we figured we could always sell it if we needed to grow or outgrow it, or just gives you more options. And so we found this building in Bloomington, which we love for a few reasons. One is more central, so when we're building jobs in different places, it's a little bit more central than Maple Grove was, so that helped. Also for our team, it's more central, because if you're in Maple Grove, you're not hiring people from Lakeville. They're not driving the hour plus up every day to the office, whereas Bloomington it's kind of one of those like 20 to 30 minute drives from almost anywhere you live, so it was more central. And we also got a good deal in the building. It was half empty, a little bit more run down, and we're a construction company, so we came in, we fixed it up, we had some tenants in the other parts of the building helping us with the rent, so it was actually less expensive every month than if we would have been paying rent to someone else and just renting.
And it's an income producing property.
Yeah, correct.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, income producing when we pay rent to ourselves. Yes, correct.
Oh, not from the tenants?
The tenants won't cover the mortgage by themselves, but with us in here paying the rent, then it makes money. So we pay less than we would pay renting from someone else, and because of that, then yes, it makes money. So it made sense to buy instead of rent. And I would tell a lot of business owners that they have $1 million or $2 million in revenue to look at buying a building instead of renting. One quick fun note on this, which the real estate people might appreciate, but we bought the building when it was half vacant at a certain price. We came in, rented out the other 50% of it, and then we went back to the bank and said, hey, the property was this price, half occupied. Now, because we're fully occupied, we think it's worth more. And so we actually ended up being able to take out money because of that added value of us renting from ourselves. And we took that and we bought the building next door with a down payment from that, money that we basically just created from renting our own space. So
from equity.
From equity, yeah. So kind of a cool, you have so many ways to make money in real estate, and it's just one fun example of what we were able to do.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think your biggest learning experience has been, if you could contribute it to one thing?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually think you're probably not as important as you think you are when you're working at a company. When you start your own business, you find that you have to kind of reestablish your value, improve yourself. And when I worked at Rohr's companies, I had a fancy title. I was in charge of a lot of things. I was able to just make decisions just because I had that role. When you're here, like, you're going to be talking to a couple, and they don't owe you anything, and you have to prove to them why they want to do business with you. So I think I had my expectations of like my value in the world reset a little bit, almost to like ground zero, and I had to say, hey, I have to be a high level person in order for people to want to do business with me. I can't just rely on my past career experience or my title or the position I'm at. So kind of an answer to your question.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah, I'll just keep it there, I think.
Being a business owner has really kept you humble.
Yeah, some people become business owners and they go the other way. They get big egos. I think I'm almost more humble now because I realize how hard it is and also how fragile it is too. I mean, if you make some mistakes, like especially a new business, I mean, it's not indestructible. Like, you do some mistakes, it could all crumble down, and you're back to zero, and it sucks building from square one. I don't want to do that again. Maybe I do, but not this business maybe. So it definitely humbled me. I mean, nothing will humble you more than knocking on doors and getting, whether they're unemployed or their yard's trash or whatever, them slamming a door in your face and basically having that power dynamic that they're better than you, and you're like, you're right, they are. They didn't want to buy my roof. So, it's a tough pill to swallow when you come from, rising in the ranks in a career to going back to that.
So speaking of rising in the ranks, what have you done to help employees come in, say they came in and they started with sales or what have you, and now you see more of an opportunity for them and you want to bring them into the office and you want to have them oversee other people doing what they're doing. How have you been able to successfully transition people into that role?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have a great answer for you too, because we have probably the best example that I've ever seen out there of this. So our first salesperson we hired on a 1099 basis, he, the first guy that was going out door knocking with us, whatever, he's now our director of operations, and he oversees the entire thing. He's essentially the GM of our location here. And so our ethos is like, hey, the rising tide lifts all ships. So we are going to be leading the charge, growing as aggressively as we can, and because of that, it's going to give opportunities to the people that are helping us get there and stick by our side. And so that's just one example. We've had others too, where and I'll add on too. One thing I think unique about us compared to a lot of construction companies is we're not a revolving door. Usually people that come and they sell for us, they work for us, they stick around. So we've retained, I would say, 90% plus of the people that have worked with us throughout the years. And a lot of it too is because we're growing so quick that we give those opportunities right back to people. Before we go outside the company to hire, we look inside and say, hey, is everyone as far up as they can be? And can we hire below and keep elevating people? And so I think that's earned the loyalty and respect of a lot of people here, but also it's the right thing to do. They've helped us get here. If they're going to continue to grow with us, we want them to have that opportunity first.
How many managers do you have?
So there's different arms of the business. You have your sales arm, and then you have like your operation production arm. So I would say we have probably 3 on, and then you have like, the accountant side. So there's maybe a little bit manager heavy in a small business like this, because you have your office manager, your production manager, your operations manager, your sales manager. But I'd say in the whole scheme of all of it, including our subcontractors, people that manage them, we probably have about 6 or 7.
Okay, so you have someone dedicated to managing contractors. Okay.
Yep. Oh yeah. They do great work, but you still need someone to be there just to trust but verify that everything's good.
Do you have any idea off the top of your head how much you guys spend on your overall insurance per year?
It's expensive. I think between our 15 trucks, our GC, we also have an interior business we didn't talk about that much, so I'll carve that one off. But just in the Bold North umbrella, it's probably close to $100,000 a year. It's expensive, yeah.
Do you mind touching on this branch of a business?
Yeah. So
did this spin off based off of what you're already doing and you saw a need, or?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. So about a year and a half ago now, we started an interior restoration company. So, think your dishwasher floods a kitchen, or there's a garage fire, anything on the inside of the house.
Oh, the roof leaks.
The roof
runs
leaks.
down the wall.
Right, yeah. And, before, and a lot of roofing companies, they say, we just want to do the exterior. We're not touching the inside. It's a different, type of person you need, business model. It's hard to kind of all have it in one house, and it doesn't make sense to have it all in one house. And so we started this interior business. We found a couple guys that understood it, were able to help us grow it. And another reason we started it too is we lost jobs because we didn't do that. So there'd be some where it's more than just the roof needs to be replaced. It's the framing of the rafters needed to be completely redone, or it was a total fire job or whatever it was. And the customer's like, look, I'm not gonna general contract my own project. I want one company to do all of it. And so we lost jobs that way, and I'm like, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to lose jobs again. So let's find a way to be able to service those customers in a more holistic approach, and which helps when we talk to insurance agents too, because insurance agents have roofers walking all the time, and they're like, hey, I want all your roof claims, and we say, hey, we'll take anything. The toilet over flooded, or there's a garage fire that burned half the roof, and we want that. So we get usually number one spot on these insurance agents' lists because we're one number, one name that they have to give out. Bold North will take care of everything. The company that does the interior, it's called First Call Restoration. It's a different GC, different insurance. So it's a different business. They have a different location. They're out in Plymouth, but we're all under one umbrella. So we're able to handle it as Bold North and just subcontract directly to them. And we know that they do good work. They're good employees out there. They're, I guess, different model. It's more of an A to Z contractor where they're all individual contractors, and so they've been able to do home addition, stuff like that. We put them all together, and they had the economies of scale, or the 1 + 1 = 3 concept, where you put a bunch of skilled contractors together and they can do a lot of projects.
So that's all 1099 contract based?
No, they're W-2 guys.
Really?
Yeah, they use 1099 labor in certain aspects, but the 4 employees over there at First Call, they're W-2.
Okay. And do you and your partner run that as well?
We don't run it. We're owners in it. We have a champion over there who's the guy that runs it, and then a couple people underneath him. So yeah. So we do check in, and we help dive in on advising the business growth and stuff we've done here at Bold North. We take those principles, we apply them there. We share resources. Our accountant here does the accounting there because it's a smaller operation. So we leverage a lot of stuff. We check in every week and meet with them, but they kind of run their own shop pretty well.
How long has that been at?
About a year and a half, yeah. So beginning of 2024, late 2023 is when it started coming about.
Are you liking it so far?
Yeah, it's great, and it's a more, I wouldn't say interesting, but a more versatile or widespread business model. We're here, we do roof, siding, windows, it's kind of it. There it can be a variety of things, like it can be a complete house remodel or a gut job, or they wanted to put an addition on, or it's really a catch-all for any projects that don't fit into the Bold North box of exteriors. So
do you see that as more of a steady revenue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Throughout the year, yeah, because in the winter they still do projects. It doesn't slow them down, whereas in the winter here we're not putting roofs on, or we do siding still because you don't need to have the heat to do that, but it's more consistent throughout the year, which is nice.
That would be a fun deal to do, where you have something you've established that then feeds another company.
Yeah.
Because they're not starting up the same way this started up.
Right, yeah.
Knocking the doors. I mean, not that you're probably not, knocking doors, but it's just a different approach.
It's a different approach, yeah, and we've taken the model with that. We're eyeing up what other businesses can we do that to, where we're kind of playing mini private equity with ourselves, but on a much smaller scale. You find the one person that wants to start a business or has an idea, whether it's tree cutting or landscaping or that, and hey, that's how we found First Call. But we say, can we help bring you from a one-man operation to, let's grow you to Bold North size? And private equity is never going to give attention to one person, but we're not private equity. We're just a couple dudes that like business and love growing stuff. And so let's partner up and let's help grow it up to where you want to take it.
Do you have family?
Yes, I do. Well, sort of. Mom, dad, I'm not married yet.
Okay.
Mom, dad, sister, and then I'm engaged. So
Okay.
we'll hopefully have a future family. But
Sure. Yeah, you're young yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only got 6 years on you. But.
Yeah, a few more kids than me too. Yeah. How many kids do you have?
So we're going on 5.
5, that's right.
Yeah, 5 in August.
Wow.
Yeah, super
Congrats.
pumped, man. I'm glad we got started when we did.
Yeah.
But then I also have friends that, they started a lot later too. And it's just a different season for them.
No right or wrong way to do it.
So the reason why I ask is, out of curiosity, what's your exit plan? You thinking you're going to be a guy that grinds doing, startup businesses and kind of keep, adding on to things and doing more until you're 40 and then you're going to call it? Or you see yourself working until you're 65, 70?
Me and my business partner have talked about it. I love working. He loves working. It's a different kind of work. Like, we're not going to be burning the midnight oil when we have a family and kids. But I don't want to retire. I couldn't imagine. Like, I go on vacation, I get bored. Like, I can't lay on a beach. Like, I know my fiance hates that when we're taking a weekend away, and I go crazy if I sit still too long. So I think we'll always be working to some extent. It might just be more, doing the deal side or helping start up stuff, but not working in the business as much. But yeah, no retirement thoughts anywhere near in sight.
Do you find that this venture has changed how you think and process just day-to-day information? What makes me ask is, you said you go on vacation and it drives you crazy I'm guessing, to sit still and not be doing anything. Think back to, you just graduated school, you're a CPA somewhere up in Grand Forks, if I got that right.
Yep.
I'm guessing you probably weren't so go, or maybe you were.
I was a little bit, but I would say my ambitions were different. I think something happens, maybe it's in everyone or maybe it's just me, but like, I started chasing fulfillment instead of chasing like fun and happiness. Where back when I was in my early 20s, I would just, I wanted to get rich so I could go party or like, have a boat and do that stuff. And now I like chasing building something. So for this, it was building a business. I think that's what gave me more fulfillment and by default like happiness than what partying would have or what getting a lot of money would have. So I just love building stuff. I don't know if it's just like an innate thing or whatever it is, but I feel like I get to do that in business, and that's how I do it. Some people do it by woodworking or building whatever, restoring cars, whatever it is. For me, my skill set and what I am good at is business, and so I find it has changed my mindset once I got a taste of it on my own. I'm like, wow, I've created something out of nothing. Like, that's an addicting feeling. And so how can I continue to do this on like a bigger and more widespread scale?
I know that feeling.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, you've had that too.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, for me personally, I got to a point where I was hitting a glass ceiling, and I saw that there was so much more opportunity in the world of sales. And so it's just like, man. So that's why I'm really fascinated by this, because this is all sales driven.
Right. And you probably feel a little bit with the podcast too you started. Do you feel that like creation
Absolutely.
Side of it? Yeah.
The networking side. I came from an industry, ATM industry. Came from an industry where it's just very closed.
Yeah.
It's closed off. You could put up billboards and do ad spend and stuff, and it wouldn't do any good for you.
Right.
And so my network was basically just a car scene, because that's my hobby. So speaking of hobbies, what's yours?
Yeah. I don't have a ton of hobbies right now. I mean, I not all the normal things. I love traveling. Like, I've done a lot of cool traveling. I went to Peru for 10 days last fall, which was super fun. Did a backpacking trip there with a buddy, and I've done the Far East, done the Bali, the Thailand, all that. So I love traveling to new cultures, stuff like that. I think right now my main hobby is just building the business, and I'll earn the right to have a hobby down the road a little bit. But as a 32-year-old guy, I feel like I haven't quite earned, status to have hobbies right now. So I just want to build stuff, and I'll figure that out as I go.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Cool, man. Really appreciate it, dude.
Absolutely.